This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, thank you. It was good to meet with council again. If I can get a mover and a seconder to open the meeting, please. Belinda and Peter. That's moved by Belinda Kistemaker, second by Peter Kistemaker. Be it resolved that we do call this special meeting of council to order on Wednesday, November 25th, 2020 at 6 p.m. All in favor? And that's carried, none opposed. Okay, our next order of business is the approval of the agenda. If I can get a mover and a seconder, please. Drago and John. Moved by Drago Stefanik, second by John Peroff. Be it resolved that council does hereby approve the agenda as presented. Those in favor? And that is carried. Okay, so as always, council, you know that disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof, or declaration of conflict of interest, you can do that now and or any time throughout the meeting if such a situation arises. And I've had no written submission this meeting, so we'll continue on to open discussion for public consultation. The first one is for user fees, and we're looking at creating a comprehensive user fee bylaw for all of the different fees that we have. And I'm going to give the floor to Melissa.
I don't really have anything to add other than what is in the report. So if you guys wanted to go through it line by line, or if you had any specific topics that you wanted to discuss, if you want to just go through them, admin, then airport, marriage, fitness, then public works, and then we'll just do it one by one like that, if that works for you.
Yeah, sure, we can definitely do that. Go through them each as we need to. And as there is public consultation, there will be opportunity for people to ask questions. And we've allotted about 30 minutes to this. So what I'd like to open up first with, I know, Melissa, we had talked about that we we're going to have a certain amount of time that the public can submit the consultation to, and I did not write the date down.
It was by next Wednesday in time for the next agenda.
So that was the 3rd?
Yeah, it was the 3rd.
Okay, that's what my memory had, but
I think Wednesday's the 2nd.
Oh, the 2nd, sorry. Okay, Wednesday the 2nd. Okay, thank you for that clarification. Okay, council, first of all, public, we're gonna, council is seeing this too for the first time, and I'm going to give opportunity for council to voice opinion first, and we'll start, like Melissa's suggestion, we have 5 areas that we're concentrating on during this round, and we'll look at administration first. Yes, go ahead, Melissa.
So just a few things in administration that I'd like to point out is we currently have, right down to hard copies of bylaws, we currently have a bylaw, which you see in the attachments, bylaw 81, that says that the copies of the bylaws are $2 per page to a maximum of $50. So we're suggesting that that just be removed completely and would fall under the photocopying and printing fees. And we would like council's input in for the municipal rentals of the council chambers if we wanted to stay for a flat day and a flat amount for a full day, flat amount for a half day, and remove the members of parliament that they would pay just like a normal resident would. And then we added for tables and chairs for an obligation for the municipal staff to set up and remove the tents during business hours. And those are the only things I wanted to highlight on admin.
Okay. Council? Yes, go ahead, Councillor Peroff.
Yeah, I'm just looking at, can you tell me which page you're actually referring to here?
Currently, John, we have the staff report that's a 2-page document, or 3-page, sorry. I've got it
Yeah.
photocopied on 2-page. And then the first one is it's the longest grid format, and it has Township of Hornpain Administration Department on the header.
Staff report.
Are you using your agenda to click on? If you click on administration fees, it'll probably pop up for you.
Oh, okay, that's the one. I was looking at the other one.
Yeah, we have several there. So yeah, we definitely want to all be on the same
Sorry.
page here. No problem. So any questions from council? First of all, any that you just want to highlight first? Go ahead, Councillor Stefanik.
Yeah, through you, Mayor, I agree with the treasurer's recommendation and all the 3 items you mentioned. Thank you.
Okay, great. Councillor Kistemaker, go ahead. Peter?
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
The tables and chairs, that's was 0 to 8 chairs, $30. Does that include the chairs out for a function, say for minor hockey or for curling or anything like that?
I'll let you answer that, Melissa.
Yeah, we charge for tables and chairs currently, but if there's tables and chairs for minor hockey, sometimes they'll put in a request to council and council will waive that fee. But if they don't put in a request, yes, they would be charged.
Okay, because that was my only issue with it. Was I personally dealt with this in the past where it gets to be too expensive for a nonprofit organization, whereas if they're already renting the arena or another town facility, then there should be an exception. But that answers my question. If there is a request put in and we can accommodate them, I'm fine with that. Thank you.
Any other further questions from council on administration? The only question that I have, I'll give councillors another minute, is the bill receipt reissue reprint. It's a new charge of $5. Is that under, when we did the investigation, that came up across the board, that's a practice that municipalities have?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, okay. Okay, I don't see any more questions from council, so I am going to open up the floor at this time, dealing with just this administration portion of the user fees for any comments on that portion. And what I will do is I will look for your microphone to be unmuted. And I know the staff will help me keep an eye so that we don't miss anybody. Okay, I don't see any comments at this time. So council, we're okay to move on to the next section, and we're moving on to the airport. Okay, oh, go ahead, Melissa, sorry.
Just to clarify for the municipal chambers, did we want to go with the flat rate or an hourly rate?
Sorry about that, Melissa. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. Okay, so we were currently, it's the $100 and the $150, correct? And adding the $25, that was that's your preference to do as other communities with the research that was done? Yeah. And council, you're in agreement with that, adding an additional, so we have an hourly rate? I think it opens up opportunity. People don't have to have it for half the day and they can rent by the hour. Yes?
Yeah, agree.
Agreed, okay. Belinda, are you in agreement with that? Okay. Is that enough direction on that section, Melissa? Okay, great.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so now moving on next is to the airport fees. Did you want to speak to this, Melissa, at all?
Just about the landing fees, we had it on there, but then we took it off. That there's practice across the board that people are charging landing fees when they are receiving fuel at the airport, and we currently do not do that. If they are receiving fuel, we do not charge the landing fees. We only get the price of the fuel purchase. So that was something that we were looking to see if council wanted to add the landing fee when they receive fuel as well. And maybe Dwayne wanted to talk about the parking fees.
Okay, let's deal with the landing fees issue first, and then we'll go to Dwayne about the parking fees. So from council's perspective, are you seeing the difference currently in the way that we run things? When someone lands and they use our fuel, they end up filling up or getting fuel, they aren't charged their landing fee. And from the research, it seems that that's not a practice that's followed, and it would be acceptable to charge landing fees regardless of whether you're fueling or not. Discussion from council on that? Go ahead,
No.
Councillor Kistemaker.
I would agree with making that change.
Okay, great. John as
Yeah,
well?
I would have thought they would have had that a long time ago. Yes, I agree with it.
Yeah, this is why we need to review things. And these user fees will be reviewed annually, so this is a good start. Belinda, sorry, Councillor Kistemaker?
No, I agree. We should be doing that.
Okay, great. Councillor Stefanik, did you have anything to comment?
No, agreed 100%. Thank you.
Okay, great. So we'll move on to the parking. The floor is yours, Dwayne.
As you can see, it's quite a significant increase in parking, but that's like the same as the surrounding airports. So we're quite a bit lower. So I don't know if you guys want to go that high or.
Okay, I just have one question on that parking. Do we currently have someone that signed up for monthly parking, or that it's going to affect them drastically?
No.
No? Okay. Any comments from council? Yes, Councillor Paraf, sorry.
Yes, I was just wondering, I don't have a problem with the fees. I'm just wondering if the research showed a difference between what was paid parking and non-paid parking.
Okay, I'm going to hand that over to Melissa.
It's the new wages or the new costs are in line with the other municipalities. However, we don't, at our airport, it's not a really good system. It's like a couple blocks and tie downs and stuff like it. We could have a better system. So maybe our infrastructure isn't as good as the other communities that are charging the larger fee. So maybe we're not, maybe we shouldn't be charging that much based on what we have.
Okay, so is this the amounts that are suggested here to increase the fee amounts? Are those to the maximum? Gail, I'll come to you in just a second. Are those to the maximum? Or is that included in there that we've already stabilized them to match our infrastructure?
No, those are what's not to match our infrastructure, just to be in line with the other municipalities.
Okay. Gail, go ahead.
So I just wanted to add that maybe once we complete our upgrades to the airport, maybe we could head more towards the higher end of the rate, and we can look at improving the infrastructure for parking out there for tie downs and whatnot.
True. Is there a suggested amount now tonight that we could suggest that would be appropriate in there? Has that been given any thought?
We could possibly just leave it status quo at $15 a day. Just a suggestion.
Okay, Dwayne, do you have anything to say or to add to that?
No, I'd be okay with that.
Okay. And flag that we're going to review it when it's all upgraded. Any other further comments from council before I open up the floor for our community? No? Okay. I'm going to open up the floor now to airport fees. Sherry, go ahead.
I'm just wondering why it's such a huge increase on the medical landing fees. Will that affect us for flights in? That's my only concern.
I echoed your concern today in the meeting, so I can actually answer this for you, Sherry. That is the fee structure for across our airports, all across the north. I'll let Melissa answer fully, though. Go ahead, Melissa.
So we did research for between 9 municipalities, and all 9 municipalities we compared to all charged $250. So it seems like that we were lower, and they do pay it.
Sherry, would you like to?
No, Melissa, I just lost the last 3 words you said. That's the going rate? Is that what you said?
Yeah, it's $250 across the board for all municipalities.
Okay, so we're just matching with others, so it's not going to affect our medical flights. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for the question. Great question. Belinda, I see your microphone's unmuted. Did you want to speak again?
No.
No? Okay. So I still have the floor open. Oh, David Jeremy, go ahead.
Thank you. I'm going to do a written proposal anyway and send something in to Melissa, but I just, having looked at a few of the other local airports, they have categories for kind of local private flyers. Now, I know we don't here now, but you may understand that that would be a goal of mine somewhere down the road, possibly, to be looking at an airplane. And those sorts of costs would make it basically impossible for anybody to own a private airplane. $450 a month, that's, you're looking at almost $6,000 a year parking fees. 3 or 4 years you'd have the cost of your small airplane. So I did notice, I looked earlier today, Manitouwadge, for example, planes under a certain size. In Manitouwadge, it's a weight size. There are actually no landing fees. Parking fees are different. The other thing with landing fees is you'll get, say if somebody is a fairly new pilot, they'll want to practice takeoffs and landings, and they'll go out and they'll go for an hour and they'll do circuits, and they'll land and take off, land and take off. It would be pretty challenging with those sorts of costs, because even if you did 10 landings in an hour, that would be $400, and nobody obviously is going to do that. So I know there are a few other local municipalities, so I'm just going to send I will send something into to Melissa with a suggestion maybe for private, just for private personal owners who have small planes.
Thank you for that, David. Yes, that's great.
Thank you.
We appreciate that. I'm just wondering too, for some clarification, just for either Melissa or Dwayne, the parking fees that are listed there, those are for vehicles or for planes?
Planes.
For planes. Okay, good thing we clarified that. I'll own that.
I thought they were for cars as well, so.
Thank you, John, for seconding that. I'm not the only one here. Okay, I'm going to put that right here for planes. I was kind of wondering when we were talking about tie down, so that's good clarification. Further questions from the floor? Okay, seeing none. And thank you. And again, you have till December 3rd to get in further comments and questions about that. And I would like to, just so the municipality knows, that the airport is getting a full upgrade over the next couple of years. And this portion of the fee services will definitely be revamped again. And like I had said earlier, all of these fee structures will be reviewed annually. So we're moving on next to the civil marriage service. And Melissa, are you speaking to this as well? Okay.
No, I'm handing this one over to Shannon.
Oh, okay, great. Okay, and I'll open the floor. Belinda, Councillor Kissmeyer, go ahead.
I'd like to go back for a minute, since we are talking about parking fees, and this was for planes. If we have people who are parking their vehicles, and I don't know if we're having that, should we be charging a fee for their vehicle being at the airport for a period of time?
Okay, we're just stepping back for a moment. Dwayne?
I can't see any reason why not. We haven't had that yet, but it's possible.
Could
Okay.
happen.
I know we were talking about our parking bylaw for our community. Any fees that we charge for parking, that has to go through the MTO approval process, does it not? Would that include that at the airport, or?
I'm not really sure if it would include the airport or not, or if it's just roadways. I'd have to check on that.
Okay, okay. Go ahead, Melissa.
So if council wanted to institute parking at the airport, would we want to charge for plugging in their vehicles as well during, if they're taking off on a flight, they might be gone for a while in the winter. Maybe they're going to be using our electricity as well. So maybe we be charging parking fees if they're parking, or I mean, plug-in fees if they're parking vehicles.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. That's a fee for service for sure. So what does staff need more time on that to include that into the structure? Or do you have a figure for that already, Melissa?
Can I speak?
No, I don't think so. I can take a quick look, but I don't think so.
Okay. Yep, I see you there, Bonnie, just a second. Okay, so we'll just wait until the next time we're talking about it. Melissa? Yes? Okay. Okay, sorry, Bonnie, go ahead.
That's okay. I was just wanting to say that if you get into charging of parking vehicles at the airport, you're going to need to put up gates and protection, like anywhere that you pay for parking at an airport, your vehicle's in a gated area and all that. So I think you might be opening up a lot of stuff to get that done.
Well, definitely. Thank you for those comments, and I'm sure the staff will take them into consideration. Go ahead, Melissa.
No, there is not no parking fees from the municipalities that I have for vehicles. I mean.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'm going to open up the, just before we leave this again, because we have wrapped this portion up. The only question I have is, do we have a fee structure for any sort of plugging in vehicles anywhere in our community or at any of our facilities? I'm just thinking back, I know years ago when we did the Canada 150, we had plugins brought in, but that was more for overnight stays. So we could have a structure for that if you're using a plugin, like if you want to utilize that plugin.
Yeah, we don't have that in any of the bylaws.
Okay, so that's something that we need to look at. Okay, so moving on from the airport. And we are on the, sorry, civil marriage service. And Melissa had indicated that Shannon is going to speak to this.
Yeah, so what I did is I contacted many different municipalities in the north and some in southern Ontario and just took kind of a base average of what they are charging for different rates and different times. And these fees will be split between the municipality and myself. I gave a fee structure to Melissa earlier today, just pretty much the fees, for every fee there is, $100 will be going to the municipality, except for the ones that are done during business hours, and they would get, it would be split 50-50 at $150 each. And the marriage license fee is fully a municipal fee as well.
Okay. Do you have any further comments on that, Shannon, before I open up for questions?
No, not that I can think of at this time, but I can answer comments, questions.
Okay, great. Thank you. I'll open up to the floor to council first. Any comments on the user fees for civil marriage services? Go ahead, Councillor Stefanik.
Yeah, through Mayor, I think it's a great new venture, and I thank Shannon for taking the lead role on this. And most municipalities that I'm aware of have this service, and I think it's going to do well for Shannon, it's going to do well for us, and I thank Shannon for that.
Thank you for those. Any other further comments from council? Okay, I just had one question about it, and it was the change of date or time, and it's in box 4 of the second section, and it's that they're only allowed one change per book ceremony. And my only concern was that is there a length of time of that they can change their ceremony? Because I know your marriage license runs out after a certain period of time.
Yes, I believe it's they can change it. I think it's up to 4 weeks, a minimum of 4 weeks prior to the original scheduled date.
Okay, so they have to stay within 4 weeks of the original date?
Well, they can change it after they've booked it. They can change it up to 4 weeks before the date without a fee being charged.
Okay, I guess I'll rephrase my question, Shannon.
They have to follow the category.
They have to follow the categories?
Like, it have to follow in the category of your wedding, your marriage license.
Okay, within those already set boundaries, or you'd have to get a whole new, you'd have to register all over again, correct?
Yes.
Okay, why I was asking that was that I didn't want us to get into a position where someone rescheduled a year later. If it was that far away, it would just be off the docket, and then they would go through the whole process again, correct?
Yes, yeah, I believe it's 6 months. I think is it 3 months or 6 months? Your wedding license is good for. I can't think off the top of my head.
3 months.
3 months. Thank you,
Okay,
Gail.
3 months.
Okay. Okay, that's great. Okay. I'm just thinking of succession planning. We don't want to be tied into something too long in advance that they would have to reapply. So that's good.
That way it gives us time, like depending on if I had to travel somewhere else, or to make sure that I have a schedule of when I can do it if I have other ones booked as well. So
yeah. Okay, great. Okay, any further questions from council? And I'll open this up to the floor for any comments or questions about it. I don't see anything from council, so I will open it up to our community. And this is a brand new thing for Hornpain, so congratulations to Shannon and to Hornpain. Okay, I don't see any, so we'll move on. And our next item is Public Works Department. And who is going to speak to this? Is this Melissa or Dwayne? Go ahead, Melissa.
I just have one thing to add in regards to the material. So the material that we're proposing, those would be for the units only, and it would include the delivery of the material. So we wouldn't charge the operators and the rental of the equipment in addition. It's just strictly the material.
Okay, so when we're looking at the grid, the fees and charges, if we look at gravel A, the unit, the yard, it's $49.50 is the proposed new rate. And that would include the delivery to the person's, say, driveway or where have you. Okay, and that's within municipal boundaries though, correct? Okay. Dwayne, did you want to speak to this before I open up the floor to the council?
Sure. The cost, the delivery rates, the full rate for that material is based off of delivery rate that I pay for delivered to us. That's why it's delivered to them.
Okay, perfect. Okay, I'm going to open up the floor to council. Councillor Stefanik.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. I agree with the recommendation. I think we skipped over the fitness facility fees, was right after the civil marriage service fees.
Oh, sorry, I'm going by the list on
For the 2 lists. Okay, thank
on
you.
the staff report. We will
That's
get to
fine.
it. It'll be next.
Okay, thank you. I agree with Dwayne's recommendations. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments from council? The one comment that I did bring this up in a meeting with Gail was just about our equipment. I do like the change that we will not be renting out our equipment without an operator. I think that is prudent. And also in the equipment rental, it's item 5. I'm concerned that we always ensure that where the operator will be with the equipment is a suitable work environment. To ensure that's in the new bylaw, in the new schedule, that we're protecting our staff. That was my only concern. Okay, any other comments from council before I open it up to our community? Okay, I don't see any. And I open up the floor to comments on the Public Works Department user fees. Oh, Sherry, go ahead.
I just need clarification on the excavator and the sander and all that. Those prices listed include the operator? Am I reading that incorrectly? Or are the operator wages on top of the minimum charge per hour? I'm thinking.
Yeah, the operator wages are in addition.
In addition to. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, any other further questions? Go ahead, Bonnie.
We had the opportunity to or need for some fill from the township when we did some recent construction, and I must say we were super impressed with the service. The bill was certainly nothing that was unexpected. We didn't consider it unusual fees, and we were extremely pleased with the availability of the material when we needed it. And excellent. So just wanted to comment on that.
Well, thank you for that. I just want to reiterate your comments. I think everyone did hear them. It was a waved in and out there a bit, but that you had good service. You were not displeased with the pricing or anything, and that the Public Works provided timely service as well. Perfect. Right on. Good news. So any further comments on Public Works Department? Okay, I'm not seeing any, so we will move on now to the fitness facility. And I'll open up, Melissa, do you want to speak to this first, or?
I just wanted to let council know that we're asking for a change to the fitness so we can start implementing the new key fobs for the system that's going in. And we're proposing to take out the 3-month and for it to be strictly on a monthly basis. So going forward, we're going to try to set a policy that they're going to have to provide their credit cards, and it's going to be automatically removed monthly. So that's why we're proposing to be $60 a month without the reduced fee at a 3-month rate.
Okay, thank you for that. Any questions from council? Go ahead, Councillor Stefanik.
Yeah, through the mayor, I really like the fact fees will not be prorated. I like that, number one. Number two, I think you're a little too steep for the under 18 years, $300. I think slightly too steep in my opinion for anybody that's under 18, sorry. And replacement key fob, way too low. That number should be at least $50. If you lose it, you pay for it. $20, it's a joke. I think $50, even $75, then people will be very careful with that piece of equipment that they have in their hand. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Councillor Stefanik. So there's a proposal here to up the replacement key fob. And just a question on the under 18. That's currently what they were paying before? Is what
Yeah,
it's at now? That's the same?
What we currently charge, yeah.
Okay, okay. Any other further comments from council on that? Go ahead, Councillor Paroff.
I tend to agree with Councillor Drago there about under 18. I know it's kind of looking at charging less for it, but if we want to start promoting physical fitness, maybe that'll be a little bit more to entice more younger people to come in.
Okay.
Just a thought.
No, thank you for that. When we were looking researching this part of the user fees, did we look at all the different facilities again? I know we had done that a couple of years ago.
Yeah, we've done the fitness facility quite a few times, and before we increased it a few years ago, we were way low, and then when we increased it to these fees, we were more in line.
Okay, okay. Any other further comments from council? Okay, I have to say I'm in. Councillor Kissmaker, go ahead. Belinda?
I like that we're in line with everyone else. I wish we had a fitness center to compare, like that was what we were looking for, like a real fitness center, I guess. But the one thing with replacement of the key fob, I do believe that it's too low. I agree with Drago.
Okay, great. Okay, so I guess the first question is the $20 for the key fob, that definitely covers the price of the fob, correct? Okay. And then we can come up with either double that price or 50. Is there a recommendation from staff on what that price could be at? No? Okay, it's okay. I'm not trying to put you on the spot here. I just thought maybe there might be. Okay, and I am in agreement too. So Peter, are you in agreement that that replacement key fob should be higher?
Yes. Only because being too low, it's not a cost factor as much as it's taking time out of our municipal staffs. It's just adding more work for them every time somebody loses it. I know myself, I'd probably lose at least once a month. So yeah, I think that would be a good idea.
Okay, so it definitely needs to include the cost of the key fob and then the new key and then their new key fob all in the replacement cost. So somewhere around $50, I would imagine, is sufficient, or do we want to go higher than that? Councillor Stefanik, go ahead.
Yeah, I would agree with 50. I think, again, also staff times as well. I mean, there's all the different factors to the cost, and that's it has to be covered. 50 is fine with me. Thank you.
Okay, great. John, yes?
I agree with the $50 limit, yeah.
Okay, Peter and Belinda? Okay. Okay, so is there any other comments? We had the one discussion about the under 18. I'm not sure how to move. Go ahead, Councillor Stefanik.
Yeah, sorry. I really truly mean when I said that. I looked at this quite in depth. I think at $250, and all those reasons John said, and it's a known fact. We'll try to encourage the people to go up there and fitness. I think 300 really truly is a bit too steep. I truly mean that. 250, I think is more fair. I think we're overpricing ourselves. If you overprice yourself, no one will come. Thank you.
Okay. I'm gonna turn, oh, go ahead, Melissa.
So, 250 for the year and then 25 per month?
$250 per year and 25 per month. That's the numbers we have. Dragos, I'm getting yes.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yes, okay. Well, you know what, let's, if council's, I'm gonna open up the floor for comment from the community here shortly, but we're gonna set it at 250 and then 25 for under 18. Go ahead, Councillor Kistemaker. Peter?
But at 25 per month, that'll still be 300. Usually there's an incentive to buy a year at a time, isn't it?
Yeah, well that, yeah, no, that's $100 off, is it not?
It's
Oh, but
50
it's
bucks off.
25 per month.
$50 off, sorry. 25 times 12, 300. Yeah, it's gonna be down to 250 a year.
Right, 250 a year, but like the original price, it's an incentive to put the 300, isn't it? You're saving money versus the 25.
Correct.
Okay, I'm missing what you're saying, Peter. Can you say it one more time?
Sorry, the original one says 300 per year.
Yes.
Not 300 a month, pardon me, $30 a month. $30 per month would be 360 a year.
Right.
300, so it's an incentive to buy the year. If we drop it down to 250, which I fully agree with, it should be dropped down to $20 a month.
Oh,
So
drop it further. Okay.
Pardon me. No, yeah. Another way, sorry, increase it. Mrs. Latos is going to give me shit for not getting that right.
Okay.
It should be an incentive to buy a year at a time.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm hearing, so you're saying to either keep it at $30 or increase it by $5?
Well, yeah, I think the annual at 250 is good.
Yeah.
And yeah, maybe keep it at even 27.50. As long as it's more monthly than it is, just you want an incentive to buy an annual one versus, because you're saving time at the municipal office as well, right?
Right. Okay.
So $25 a month for the whole year would be 300. So $250 for the year there is an incentive there.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm not sure what kind of calculator you guys are using, but yeah, works on
John, they
mine.
have me all confused. Okay, so let's just go with the figures. $250 a year. The monthly rate is going to be at what, Melissa?
$25 a month and $250 for the year.
Agreed.
You good with that,
Agreed.
Councillor Kistemaker? Good. Okay. Go ahead, Melissa.
Just before you open the floor to the public, we just had another thing that we wanted to bring up for council's consideration is that currently the volunteer firefighters do not pay to go to the fitness facility. And we're wondering if that's something that council wants to institute for the firefighters, even maybe at a reduced price as the same as under 18, but to institute some kind of fee structure so there's revenue coming in across the board for all the users to go towards the expenses of the fitness facility.
Okay, I open the floor up to council on discussion on that. Councillor Paroff?
Currently they pay nothing.
Yes, that's correct.
I would encourage that. I would go with that one, keep it the same for our firefighters.
Okay, Councillor Stefanik, you're in agreement with that?
Yeah, 100%, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Councillor Kistemaker, Peter, go ahead.
Absolutely.
Okay. Belinda, Councillor Kistemaker, you're in agreement? Okay. And Gail, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that that was instituted all along by previous councils as an incentive for fitness facility, or sorry, fitness to keep people fit to work in the fire department and also to join, an incentive to join, and it seems to have worked fairly well. So I think it's a good thing as well.
Yes, and I also want to think on something like that, we should bring in our fire chief into the discussion. Just because we have been recruiting, it has been successful. We have been able to build up that volunteer pool for our firefighters again. So any way that we can retain people into those positions is important for our community. So go ahead, Melissa.
And another discussion, staff also does not pay. So is that something we want to institute that staff should be paying, or mayor and council as well for that matter?
So staff, mayor and council. Okay, I open the floor up to council. Go ahead, Councillor Stefanik.
Yeah, through Mayor, I agree 100% for staff. Again, it's an incentive just like for firefighters. Council, not so much. We're all in good shape. I mean, we don't need it.
I have to say, I don't know. I might have to declare a conflict of interest. I think I'm the only one here that uses it. And I'm not in shape. Go ahead, Councillor. Go ahead, Gail. I'm calling you Councillor Jeremy now.
I was just going to say that I don't think any of us have been inspired to even attend in the last, I don't know how many years. Not that say that we shouldn't or that we wouldn't, but I don't think it's actually being used by staff that I'm aware of anyways.
Okay, any further comments on that from council? On staff? Go ahead, Councillor Kistemaker Peter.
With the taxes being as high as they are, and just thinking of what the community is going to say, I think for council and staff, I think it should stay status quo, pay as you go. It's just you're just inviting trouble and a lot of disputes with that, I believe.
Well, just for clarity, status quo is we don't pay.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought, okay, well then I would change it so that we pay. That's what I think.
Okay, okay. Go ahead, Councillor Stefanik.
I mean, whatever decision is, I have no problem paying to get up there. I really don't. If I want to use it, whatever the council feels. But for staff, for sure. No.
Okay. My only concern is right now with staff, but from Gail's report, not many are using it, is that during COVID, I wouldn't want to hinder any areas that our staff can get physical fitness. And we can revisit that portion again when we bring it up for a year annual review. That would be my recommendation on the staff portion. And I leave it to council to decide on council portion. No further comments from council on this? Okay, then we'll look at not having it available to mayor and council. Peter, you're good with that? Drago? Yep. And John? Okay. I see. I'm lip reading now. It's yes. I'm getting good at this. And Councillor Kistemaker? Okay, great. Okay. Any other comments on that from council of all the fees? Okay, I'm going to open that up to the floor now for the community. And Sherry, go ahead. Oh, sorry. I went to Sherry first, Bonnie. I'll come right back to you. Go ahead, Sherry.
I have two comments concerning under the age of 18. I think we need to put it into perspective that, you know, $30 a month is the price of one pizza. It's not a great amount of money. I'm okay with the $250 and the $25 or the $300 for the year and no, what was it? $250 for the year and $25 a month. I'm okay with that, but let's put it in perspective. It's only the price of a pizza to have. That's $1 a day at $30. to be able to use the facility. And the other thing I wanted to ask was for the firefighters and council staff and council, I have no problems with them having access for it without a cost, but does that include putting down $50 for the fob? That's what I would ask. If you got it free all year, should they be putting $50 towards having the access, the key to get in?
Okay, good. Thank you for that. Good point. Yeah. Go ahead, Melissa. And then I'm going to go to Bonnie. Melissa, you have a response to that?
Yeah, I just, I'm not sure about all of the past firefighters who's been using the facility for a long time, but I know the new firefighters, we currently do charge them the key deposit. So I imagine we would do the same, stay with the same practice for the fobs.
Yes, I agree with that.
Okay, thank you, John. And Bonnie Claveau.
Hi, just my only comments. I mean, I'm not adverse to having any special benefits to the gym for the staff. We all want our employees to be as fit as they possibly can. And in your circumstance, most don't use it. And I'm sure you are already aware, this is something that you could easily get some community flack for. Or not feedback that's not positive, because as all taxpayers, everybody else has to pay for the facility. The fact that these individuals work for the township shouldn't necessarily beget them for use of a township service. That's all. I don't have any strong feelings about it. I just feel as someone out in the community that is liable to hear stuff flow through, that this is something that if it got around, it would easily be construed as favoritism. That's it.
Yeah, thank you for that, Bonnie. Thank you. Go ahead, Councillor Kistemaker, and then I'll come to Michael. Belinda?
No, I'm fine. Thanks.
Oh, you're fine. Okay, sorry about that. Michael, go ahead.
Well, I just found out that the gym is free for staff, so mine is kind of a moot point. But I just wanted to mention the firefighters as well. It's not able to be given free for the first 6 months because of people who have unfortunately abused the system in the past, which is totally fair. And I'm just wondering if now, because we've got the new fob system, from what I understand, and I could be wrong, in the past it was the key and things like that and pay, and so it was difficult to chase people up, and took time and energy to work out who was who and who was on what list and who still had the key and who had to drop it in and things like that. With a fob, if it's able to be controlled from somewhere else, is that something that could now be updated? Because if somebody never went to practice or whatever, you could cancel it remotely and therefore wouldn't work to open the door. Possibly. Obviously, that's me personally in my exact situation that affects, but that's something to consider maybe. And what was the other thing I was going to say? The fob replacement fee too. Maybe that's something that could wait if lots of people are carelessly losing the fob rather than putting the price up high. But I do sort of understand as well as a to try not to make people take it seriously to have a higher fee. I do understand that that reasoning. And I also appreciate the lower fee for the under 18s. As someone who didn't have a gym membership until I was about 24, it doesn't sound like much money, but when you're a kid, the gym membership is really, really expensive and not something that you prioritize. So I like that.
Hey, thank you for your comments. Yeah, go ahead, Melissa.
I just want to, as a taxpayer and as not a municipal employee, I have to agree with Bonnie. I think she has some very valid points. And if I just wanted to maybe see if Stacy had a little input, because I remember we were talking at one point that there's could be a liability issue for providing service at a zero cost. So if it's going to be free service, then maybe there has to be a monetary value of $1 or something. Maybe Stacy could shed a little bit more light on that.
Okay, thank you for that, Melissa. Stacy, are you prepared to share on that?
Yeah, so if there was a fee implemented, I guess for the fob, there would be a change of money in there, so that might mitigate that a little bit. But the totally $0 may not. It actually doesn't put us in contract with the user. So that's pretty much what I was talking about. And when it comes to staff, I think that we should pay as well.
Okay, thank you for that. Any further comments, Stacy?
No.
Okay.
Unless anyone has any specific questions.
Okay, I really am in agreement with that. We do definitely need to have a contract regardless of the user. I know for myself, I am a user and I did sign a key contract at one time and all of that. So I think we do that. I'm not exactly sure. Do we, Melissa, or some of them do not, or?
Yeah, everybody has to sign a waiver and a contract when they use the gym.
Okay, okay. So we're getting some feedback from residents and community members to disallow staff to use the gym, the fitness facility. I'm going to put the question to Gail. You know your staff the best. Do you think this is going to negatively impact our motivation or anything at the township?
Well, as I said, I'm not aware of anybody that has taken advantage of that. So I can't see it having a direct effect. I would think that if it was important enough to them, they would have taken advantage of it. I don't have a problem, you know, changing that around to where staff has to pay. Whether it'll affect any morale or not, I really don't know, but it appears to me that it's not something that's a real priority at the moment for people. So maybe they choose to do their, you know, get their fitness from different sources or in different ways. So I based on what I see, I don't see why we can't change it.
Okay, great. I'm glad for that. Just one further follow-up question. Does that put us any, like when we have a benefit or that we offer to our employees, is there any that you always have to offer that benefit? Because it's not within our CUPE agreement or anything like that.
It's not in the collective agreement. That I think that was maybe, it hasn't been like that very long. I'm thinking it was maybe the last council. I don't know, Drago, if you would remember, but it's probably only been in 4 or 5 years, something like that.
Okay,
That's correct.
okay. Thank you, Drago. Okay, any further comments from the floor, from the community? Michael, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention one other possibility if it is an issue of I don't think that it's a bad look or a bad image, especially in COVID, to be giving staff access to facilities, but that's totally fine if that is the decision that's made and no one seems to have a problem with it, and it's fine. But the other option between having free and not at all is obviously reduced price or even staff hours might be possible, because if it was an issue of taking up space and things like that, especially because it's limited space at the moment, if that was an issue, something like staff specific hours that you could go as a staff member might address that. That's an idea.
Yeah, that's an idea. That's a very good idea. And we do have, hopefully one day we're going to see great improvements to that area, and that might be something we can implement. Go ahead, Melissa, go ahead.
So I just wanted to say, like, compared to other services and facilities that staff would have access to, such as the arena or the curling club, there is no reduced rate or free for those services. So why specifically the fitness facility? Just something I was thinking about.
Yep, thank you for that. It's a good discussion. I think I saw another hand. Oh, Councillor
Yeah,
Stefanik, go ahead.
yeah,
Yeah.
through Madam Mayor, to reiterate what Gail said. Yeah, that was instituted approximately 7 years ago, previous council. We felt for the morale, for the fitness. I know for a fact, and my memory is pretty good, I suggest, there's 1 or 2 people that used over a 4-year period. So it wasn't a massive take it free and use it. So I don't think it's going to affect anybody negatively, but if the community think it's negative, yeah, let's not do it then. That's fine. I'm sure people could afford it at the end. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Councillor Stefanik. Any further comments from the floor from our community on this? So what I'm reiterating from our discussion is that we will only provide free fitness facility to our fire department after a 6-month period. And they do have to put the fob, and they would have to pay for a replacement fob, all of those items. And for the rest of staff and council, there would be no free incentive or discount or anything like that. Council, are you in agreement with that moving forward?
Okay, thank you.
Yes, John? Yes,
Yes.
Drago? Peter, yes? Yes, okay. Belinda, yes? Yes, okay. Okay, thank you for that, everyone. That was really good discussion, and I think we're good to move on. Is there any further that you want discussed on that, any of those topics, Melissa, before I close that section? Okay. So we're moving on to 5.2, and that is our public consultation on parking bylaw. And I'll let Dwayne, would you like to speak to this first before I open up the floor to council?
I could basically just say it's becoming a real issue here lately, and we have to do something to address it.
Okay, okay. So we've got the maps in front of us, council, and you have the staff report. Thank you so much for that, Dwayne, and for all the information. And I'm going to open up the floor to council first of any questions, comments, or concerns that you have. Okay, I don't see any as at the moment. Go ahead, Councillor Stefanik.
Yeah, through you, Madam Mayor, to Dwayne. When there's some recommendation that you put forth, what was the consultation? Did you speak to, I realize administration team, senior team discussed it, I'm sure of that. Any public input that you had unofficially speaking to individuals? Thank you.
Not in that specificness, but I've been talking to the business owners in that area, and well, my staff has a very hard time plowing that area. As people notice, the sidewalk on Front Street is not even plowed. They cannot get a machine in there.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Stefanik. Councillor Paroff, go ahead.
Yes, I was just wondering that one of your recommendation is to apply a 2-hour parking restriction. How is that going to be implemented?
We have signs on both ends of basically on the Front Street of that area, and we'd have to have a fine structure and a ticket book that we can issue tickets or be towed away or whatever had to be done. But
okay, so there's a bylaw officer in town that would be able to take care of that?
We have a bylaw officer out of Manitowoc, I believe it is, and I believe the bylaw says right now that like I could be, or somebody, one of our staff members could be able to write those tickets.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for the question, John. Go ahead, Councillor Stefanik.
Yeah, just a final comment. I like the whole recommendation. I like it has to be enforced. I mean, over the last 36 years I'm here, a lot of things haven't been enforced. Massive laws were passed, waste of paper in my humble opinion. If it's being enforced, I would also have a lead-in time to this. I'm talking about good leading time. I know it's winter, but I think to be fair to everyone, they should fully be aware and educated what's going to transpire. It shouldn't happen overnight. That's the only comment I have.
Thank you for that, Councillor Stefanik. Dwayne, do you have a suggested time, a rollout time for this?
Not that specific yet, but we can do it by the month or whatever. I know we're gonna have a real problem clearing snow, so it's, to me, the sooner the better, but
Right, okay.
especially for our fire lanes and that.
Okay, any further comments from council? And then I'll go to our community. Councillor Kistemaker, Peter, go ahead.
My biggest concern about it is sure that's hindering the local businesses, especially in the back lane for deliveries for the G&L as well as the hardware store. I never even thought of took into consideration the snow removal. That would be a major factor, of course. So yeah, definitely something has to be done, and has to be sooner than later.
Yes, thank you for that, Peter. Yes, definitely. Okay, I don't see any further comments from council, so I am going to open up the floor to our community. Just unmute your mic. Go ahead, Bonnie Claveau.
Hello, and thank you for allowing me to speak here. This is a matter that affects us greatly. With the sale of the apartment building between the G&L and myself as the owner of the home hardware, parking has become a huge issue. We take up every square foot of our property with no parking. And we have a few spots in the front of our store and one spot directly on our property behind. The current owners of the apartment building are parking down the length of Front Street and the back street. I sent a picture to Gail a couple of weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, where my driver had 2 inches to get by on each side of his truck to get by between the vehicles parked on the back lane, or I can't get my delivery. That's a 14-hour run, and I can't unload it now because they can't get in to the laneway. He had to go around, back up the other way, and because of the way, again, the vehicles, even coming in at the top end, was a really tough. This guy's been driving for 25 years, and he had to use all of his skills to get in there. And that should not be happening. And this is not even in snow times yet, where the roads are narrowed because of the snow. Really becoming an issue as well. Just the way the community is set up, we try very hard to keep a couple of spots, at least one spot right in front of the door for anybody that has mobility needs that have to access. What's happening these days is we are generally lucky if we get 2 spots in front of the store, because the tenants that are in the apartment building are now gradually creeping further and further down the road in front of the store, and customers who are walking on that sidewalk, that is a real hazard, because now the sidewalk can't even be plowed by the township. So I really hope you take us, or I don't know what the recommendations are. I don't have that in front of me, so I don't know what the recommendations actually are, but we have to stop the parking in the back lane and limit the parking on the front. Honestly, overnight does not affect me on Front Street, but they got to be gone out of there during business hours and snowplow hours just to keep it safe for our customers, and those with mobility issues have to have access here. And that's really, really important. We have to continue to do business. We don't have a lot of places in this town where we can do that. We gotta, every single one of my drivers have complained since the new tenants have been in there parking all over. It's just not nice to get in there.
Okay, thank you for that. Thank you so much. Yes. Any other further comments from the floor? Oh, yes, go ahead, Sherry Latosky.
I agree with Bonnie. I can see that there's an issue there. And I agree, Bonnie, that for people who have mobility issues, That's created a lot of problems. I can also see, Dwayne, when the plows have gone by, that they've had to go around those vehicles. It's quite noticeable. When I look at the map that was given, I'm not quite sure I'm understanding that, but one of my pet peeves, which I have spoken to the town before, is in front of the CN, between the bunkhouse on Front Street as you go up towards the Pack-Sack. It's as if and I could be wrong, maybe you have to correct me, but it's as if the CN thinks they own Front Street. I don't know how, Dwayne, how do you plow all of Front Street to go all the way to the Pack-Sack? They have all that parking area at the back. I think that's where the vehicles should be parked, at the back of the CN building, not on Front Street, because I'm sure we still own that. And I've also felt that we need a stop sign where the CN employees are leaving there, so that when we're coming off of Front Street onto 3rd Avenue, you know, everybody thinks that's just a turn you could go. And I think that's an issue also. And so that's my point. But I totally agree with Bonnie. That's a business area, and I don't think it should have vehicles there. And I can see where winter plowing is an issue. And about the CN, I have discussed that before in other forums that we've had with the town. They don't own Front Street as far as I'm concerned, and Dwayne's workers should be able to plow straight up right towards the Pack-Sack, and that all cleaned out. And I think it would tidy up how the downtown looks without all those CN vehicles parked there. So those are my comments.
Thank you for that, Sherry. And we'll note, we'll take note of the other comment with the signage issue for a stop sign, because we will be looking at that in the future as well. So we'll put a side note on that. But okay, so we've heard all of that. Bonnie, I see you're unmuted. Would you like to speak?
Just one other comment. I don't think it's unreasonable for us to ask anyone to not take up 14 roughly parking spaces in our downtown core at any one time. I'm a retailer. I don't have 14 parking spots. There's 4 apartments over there. So justifiably to say they would even expect to have that many, I don't think that's realistic.
Yes, I agree. We're all in agreement on that. Okay, so the recommendation, council, I'm gonna put one more final call from our community out. I don't see any further comments from the community at this time. So the recommendation is that parking restrictions be added to Front Street, Furman Avenue, Lane A, Lane C, and Lane D. The recommendation is to apply a 2-hour parking restriction on the west side of Front Street between 3rd Ave and 4th Avenue, and to apply no parking zone on both sides of Furman Ave, Lane A, Lane C, and Lane D. And that's on your map. And purchase and install parking restriction signs. And now, council, we've heard comments from everyone and we've seen the recommendation, and I open it up to, Bonnie, I'll let you speak right now before we open up to council. Go ahead.
My apologies. I just wanted to ask, we actually have a small parking spot directly behind our store, which is on our physical property. Between the laneway, I have to park up tight beside the store, but it allows, because of not too much parking on the front, one of the staff to park there. So I just want to clarify about that, because it is actually on my property, and we do park one of our vehicles there. We do have a no parking sign on the back of the store on our bay doors, because often we'll get people parked there, and it means that people can't come and unload product or pick up product if someone's parking there. That's why we don't allow it as a general. So I just wanted to clarify about that that little strip that's at the back.
Okay, thank you for that, Bonnie. And that would be on your property, so it would be totally exempt from this schedule of no parking elsewhere in that laneway. Okay, so that's the recommendation on the floor. Council has heard all the different views on this. I open up the floor again to council for further discussion or any changes to the recommendation or any issues that you may see with the recommendation or further restrictions to the recommendation or allowances. Go ahead, Councillor Stefanik.
Yeah, through you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Bonnie. My biggest concern is for the back. I didn't realize the severity. I think the second issue be parking in the front. I respect that as well. I think legally we should find how quickly we could put the signs up. I was more talking about the parking in the front where people have to have, you know, where they park. In the back, no question. Legally, I would find out quickly, is it 7 days, 6 days? The people should be notified and given a letter to cease and desist. There's no more parking, especially if you have a vehicle coming 14 hours, it's unacceptable, and we as a municipality have to act on it. So I think that'd be the first priority in my eyes. Number two, can we designate parking? I'm not sure, other small communities for a business, for people that are shopping in specific store. It doesn't have to, could be GNL, could be credit union. Can they have an hour time limit? I noticed in small communities, 1 hour time limit for shopping. So no one could park there for 3 or 4 hours. It's 1 hour shopping, and they, or whatever the council decides, or input from the public. So that'd be number two, I would act on it. But the back lane, 100%, I'll be start acting on tomorrow morning. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Councillor Stefanik. Any other comments from council on the proposed recommendation? Go ahead, Councillor Kistenmaker. Peter?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Dwayne, just to clarify in my mind, because I didn't really pay a lot of attention back there. The apartment building that's in question right now, do they have parking of their own on their own property on Furman Ave off of the street? Like, so would it be fair to say 4 spots?
4 spots, correct.
Thank you.
Okay, yes, so they do have 4 spots on their own property off of Furman Ave. Okay. Do you have any further comments, Peter? No? Okay. I have to agree with Drago, and I was on the same line of thinking about possibly having it less than 2 hours, having it a 1 hour, and that all vehicles need to be removed from that area by a certain time in the morning to allow for plowing. That I'm not sure. I'll leave that up to you, Dwayne, to decide what that hour should be. I think that's acceptable. That's in other communities where you have to move your vehicles. That's safety. I totally think that would be acceptable. And the other thing too is I do like this idea of having it as a business area parking for the front street. That it's for business, like you're utilizing either the township or the forest management resource or one of the businesses in that area between the recommendation here reads 3rd Ave and 4th Avenue. And just another comment, I'll ask this to Dwayne. I think we have addressed some of the issues with CN parking. Am I not correct? Because I know I received notice I have to park at the back as an employee now.
That did not come from me, but I don't know why they're doing it. I haven't talked to them at all.
Okay, okay. So I think we do have some room there to follow up and get some further push there. Go ahead, Councillor Kistenmaker. Belinda?
The 2 hour parking sounds okay, but I was just wondering how many employees park their vehicles on the main street, such as the people who work at the credit union? Is that an issue, or I have no idea. Do they have a back lane to park, or?
I'm not sure. I'll go to Gail.
It seems to me that the home hardware staff parks on the east side, if you can correct me if I'm wrong, Bonnie, and the credit union staff usually parks in the lot that's adjacent to the GNL variety. And all that parking is usually left vacant for customers, as far as I'm aware. And then the Jackfish River, or not Jackfish River, the, oh, I can't remember the name of it, but the forest company next door parks in behind. Normally, once in a while, they'll park out front, but they generally park in behind their building.
Okay, so do we, so we don't want to hinder employees that there needs to be some parking. Can we do a reserved parking for a long-term employee parking or something to justify that? Because even the 2 hours, because on this, I'm just wondering what would make the difference for someone to go from the west side of the street to the east side. If they can't park there overnight, they'll go and just park on the other side of the street.
I don't know if that's going to happen because there are other things at play. Dwayne's been working with the tenants for a few weeks. There's other options that they've been provided. So I'm not sure that is going to happen. I don't know, Dwayne, if you have a better read on that than I do, but it does seem that they're starting to make some effort. I'm not sure, Bonnie, if it's better for you than it has been, but I do see some changes.
Just the last couple of mornings, we've noticed they're gone early in the morning and they're using more. Kerry Wood had offered them up some place to park in his big lot months and months ago because Kerry was also having problems with the parking and his customers complaining and came to speak to me about it at least 3 times. But they, at that point in time, were not taking advantage of it. They are now. That creates a little bit of an issue in that when they're all parked there, now the big trucks can't go through that lot to get to the back lane, but they should be able to go to 4th and then come down. It's just because of the pole right there, it makes for a really tight corner, but heavens, we can't have everything. They got to park somewhere.
Well, I'm thinking too, just on that note, Bonnie, that we should take a note of this for our community improvement planning of how we get big trucks in for delivery and ensuring that we're looking at that when we have our community improvement plan. Because if we do want to grow any kind of other sectors in there, trucks are going to have to come in for delivery. So, Dwayne, did you want to speak to anything that Gail had mentioned?
No, I did talk to them quite a bit, that contractor, and I also have talking to Kerry. I know exactly what Kerry offered them. It's not quite exactly what was said, but they are trying to get better, and there are some things in the works right now that should make it a lot better here shortly.
Okay, but we still need to have some things written out. Go ahead, Councillor Paroff. You're on mute, John.
Thank you. I was just looking for some clarification because there is a number of vehicles that do park in that adjacent lot that was just repaired with the fire hydrant, one beside the JNL. And that is not is not included in the 2-hour recommendation that is being proposed. And is that really, that's not even really a parking lot, is it?
I'll give this to you, Dwayne. Yes, go ahead.
That's private lot. That's owned by Kerry.
Yeah, it's private. So it can be utilized as a parking lot. There's nothing hindering him from doing that. That's what it's been used as for years.
But it's Kerry's private property.
Mm-hmm.
So he'd be able to direct what happens, basically.
Yes. Okay, so back to the recommendation. So we don't want to hinder then the east side. And by what staff is saying and some progress that has been made, we don't see this becoming a problem, that they'll just transfer and park in those areas on the east side of Front Street. And then that we make that restriction to run right along Front Street between 3rd and 4th. Are we good with the recommendation as standing with 2-hour restriction with the signs up, Council? Yes.
I am. Yes.
John? Agree? Okay. Peter? Okay. Belinda, are you in agreement with the recommendation as it stands? Okay. Thank you for that. Thank you for all the work that you've put into this, Dwayne, and staff, and Gail and Melissa. I know you've all been involved. And do you have enough information now from council that we move forward and progress this further? Okay, I'm seeing yeses.
I believe so, yes.
Okay, right on. Okay, with that, we close that public consultation. Oh, I do see Cindy's mic open before I was closing.
I just have a couple of suggestions, comments, whatever.
Okay, on the parking, Cindy?
Yes.
Okay.
Where
Go
the new fire hydrant is, do the cars have to be parked, so far away from the fire hydrant so it's easy accessible to the firemen? And you don't want that too congested that nobody, the firemen won't be able to get at it, right?
Yes, great comment there.
Okay. And the other thing is for the big truck for Bonnie's to be going, cutting through that parking lot. Bonnie, could the big truck go up like Fifth Avenue and down the back lane by your place? You'd have a wider turn like by Cindy's and down the lane, and then keep on down the lane behind your place.
Just using the whole of Furman Ave up and down to there. Yeah. Okay. Bonnie, do you think that would be a solution for?
He can and has, because it's been impossible for him to park due to the situation right now to get in. It's just because there's poles right on each end of those lanes. You can't swing I mean, Pete would know that you can't swing. It's real. You can do it, but it's a real tight squeeze to get in both ends of those laneways because of the poles right close to the roadway there. It can be done, and Carrie's always been really gracious and allowed us to come through there and use that property for other business things, pellets and things like this when we get them in, because we get them in at 18 skid a time. But we are not, even by creating bylaws, we're not going to remove every single issue that might come up with parking. Our goal is just to try to make it easier most of the time.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that, Bonnie. And Cindy, did you have any further comments? And I see your mic's off now. Oh.
No, I'm good. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you for that, Cindy. And I just put that first question out to Dwayne about that fire hydrant. Would that not just fall under the laws surrounding fire hydrants?
That's correct.
Yeah. So will we be erecting signage so people know that as well? No parking within that area?
We sure can.
Okay. Okay. Go ahead, Councillor Stefanik.
Yeah, just a final comment what Chair Latowski brought up. I think we should also really get to the crux of the matter regarding the CN on the front street, because now we're talking about our staff. We're going to help other people, got to help our own staff. We have to decide, and finally, for years, that's a big question. Whose is it? Whose property? When do you move? Where will you park? I think that could, through the administration staff, has to be resolved. It really does, for the safety of people and our staff as well. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for that, Drago. Go ahead, Gail.
Just one comment. I'm not sure, Dwayne, what you've been doing since you've been on with that street, but I think the last couple of years, the town has not plowed that area, and because there wasn't cooperation at the beginning, it seems to be better now, and it was left for them to clear it on their own. Not that that's the answer, but I think that's what's been done the last couple of years.
Yes, go ahead, Dwayne.
Yeah, that's correct. CN's been clearing it from their basically a stop sign over to their end of the tax act there.
Okay. Go ahead, Councillor Stefanik.
Yeah, just a follow up to the administration staff. My concern would be liability. If they don't do it in an unpertinent and timely manner, something happens for an accident in that area, will the municipality be responsible? Thank you.
Yeah, it definitely needs to be investigated and looked at, and if it's our roadways should be plowed by the municipality. So okay, so do we're going to move on, and I want to thank everyone that has come out for the public consultation on these two bylaws that are coming up for our community. And I also want to say that look into the future, there'll be more consultation coming. That's part of realizing growth. You have to make some changes to be investment ready. So, and currently right now, just as a reminder, we do have the official plan and the zoning bylaw. There's still some a comment period open until, I'm going to say, Stacy, could you just give me the date of that so I get it right? Or Gail, do you have the date? Oh, she's there. Sorry.
can't remember it off the top of my head.
I believe it's December the 4th.
Yeah, I think
December
it's
the
the
4th.
first.
Okay.
We extended it a week because of our website being down. And just on that note too, we're going to be having public consultation on the establishment of our municipal service corporation. Tentatively, we've set that for December the 7th. I believe we're still on track for that. And then there'll be like a virtual session, and then there'll be a comment period right until December 31st of this year. So we'll put some education out on that this week.
Perfect. Thank you for that. Okay, so moving on, and again, I thank everyone that participated and for being here. Our next topic is 5.3, preliminary council discussions for the 2021 municipal budget. Sorry, go ahead, Melissa.
Can we take a break before we move on to budget?
Yes, we definitely can. Council, are you all in agreement?
Agreed.
Okay, we'll resume back at 7:40. Okay. Okay, welcome back. All of council is back on with us. And I just want to make an announcement now, as we just closed up our 2 public consultations, and it was mentioned through the consultation that until December the 2nd at 4 p.m., you can put in further recommendations, thoughts, what have you, on both of the issues for the comprehensive user fee bylaw and for the parking bylaw, and that is to chenier.hpayne@bellnet.ca, and those comments can be received until December 2nd at 4 p.m. Okay. And moving on now to 5.3 after our short break, and I'll open the floor to Melissa, and thank you for all your hard work.
Okay, thank you. What I want to do is go through, first of all, the balances as of 2018 and just go through the highlighted areas that I want to highlight to council. And then following that, going through the budget amounts to highlight the changes that have been made to the budget since we passed it for 2020, and then focus on the 2021 budget.
Okay, sounds good. So you're on that first page 1 of 2, and you said 2018, but you meant November 8th, 2020, correct?
Yeah, that's what
November
I meant.
8th, 2020.
Yep.
Okay.
I'm going to just skip that first page for now, 1 of 2, and go right to the page that says 1 of 26.
1 of 26, okay.
And I just want to say that I didn't put any of this information on the agenda, so the public doesn't have it. And the reason why I did that is because at this point in the stage, it's still a working document, so I didn't want that to be out there and as final numbers. So I'm sorry that the public doesn't have it, but I didn't, as I said, I didn't want it to be looked at concrete, because it's still a lot of changes have to come down the line before it can go out.
Right, but we do have a scheduled time for public consultation on our budget, and that'll come probably in mid-February in that area. Eh, Melissa?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, this isn't, yep.
Okay. So we'll start off with the land revenue land sales. We budgeted $40,000 this year, and we only received 12,500, and that's because we anticipated the sale of the hotel for this year. We did, however, received a deposit of $10,000 following this schedule, so there is another $10,000 in there. Second page, emergency management 2010. We originally budgeted $40,000 in there, but I've taken out. No, actually, sorry. The original amount that was in there was the COVID safe restart, and we received. Hold on 1 second here. I have a different document that I'm looking on the notes for.
No, take your time, Melissa, and I totally understand how we have all our challenges of working at home and shuffling documents. I know exactly how you feel from our last council meeting. Go ahead, Gail.
Melissa, I just thought it might be helpful for council if you just, when you're moving to another page, to just let them know.
Okay.
And if you're going through, are you going through the yellow, the highlighted yellows, or just so that they can kind of follow along more easily? Thank you.
Thank you for that, Gail.
Okay, so right now I'm on page 2 of 26. So we originally received $66,500 from the emergency management, and I'll go through that at the end, but I redistributed it. Instead of leaving that whole amount right in the revenue, I just redistributed it through the departments that were incurring the expenses. So I'll go through that as we get there. And then the balance that we haven't spent to date is $6,419. So the policing 2015, still on page 2. We still have one payment outstanding that's going to be coming in 2020. On 3,000 Public Works Department, we received $5,292 for the Ontario Summer Program, and we still have another payment that we're expected to come from there. So on the next page, I just highlighted the water on page 3, the transfer to the reserve. So that amount has been put in there. We budgeted that for 2020 to take that out of the reserve to cover the cost, so we wouldn't have to increase the water bills this year. The aqua recoverable credits, we have in there for 61,485. That's still coming from aqua, so it's going to be put against our December operation and maintenance fees. So on to page 4, parks. I'm not sure if we went through this during the budget, so I wanted to highlight the $3,000. Oh, this is page 4. $3,000. That revenue comes from NWMO, and that's for Sophia Perlman's Art in the Park program. The deferred revenue underneath 3,000 of $6,011.78. That's the money that was taken, that was for deferred revenue for the Main Street revitalization, in which we paid for the desert planters. In arena, the $2,840 for sale of arena recoverable, that's a retrofit that we got back from doing the GHG emission project. So we put in for a rebate and we got that money back. There's the next amount, 16,000. That's one of the amounts where I put in 16,000 into the arena revenue from the COVID restart program as a result of lost revenue incurred by the arena. And the federal grants of $1,272.50. That's a grant that we received from the Green Stream from Canada Parks and Recreation. Down to the curling club, 7015. There's another amount you'll see in there for $2,900. That's a lost revenue that was put in there from the Safe Restart program for COVID. And again, the same thing at the bottom of the page for 7020 fitness facility. So they're $9,400 for lost revenue for fitness facility. So on to the next page for page 5. Library, there's 2 amounts in there that's allocated from the COVID Safe Restart program. $1,173 is their direct expenses that the library spent on COVID expenses, and then $1,100 on lost revenue. The economic development, I highlighted those ones because we had originally put in $200,000 for the money that we were receiving from the MWMO for economic development. However, we've sent in the proposal and the business plan to NWMO for the MSC. So we're going to be deferring $100,000 from those funds into the next 18 months. So that will be changed to 100,000 rather than 200,000. And then the deferred revenue comes into the budget for the FedNor grant for the money that came in 2019 that we're using in 2020. And I highlighted the provincial grants because we haven't received any money yet this year, but we will be receiving money from NOHC for our intern. And at the bottom of the page, education, I just wanted to make a note, excuse me, those amounts are really low this year. Well, you can see on the 3rd column, just in education, no support, we budgeted 47,000, and that was based on our assessment role. But because of all of the write-offs that we've done this year, it brought it down, and we only brought in 14,000. So some of those education costs will be recouped from the school boards. Okay, on to page 6, expenses. So the $31,800 for Great West Life, that's we're not close to the 51,000 that we did budget because there was a reduction given to us because of COVID. So it was a COVID relief program. On to page 7, I highlighted $250 there. That was expense that we paid in previous years, and we were reimbursed for that. So that's it's in the expenses, but it's actually a credit. And then on page 8, throughout the whole fire department, most of these are not to where they're going to be at their budget because there's still a lot of expenses to come in. We haven't paid the honorariums yet. There are some bills still to come in for furniture and equipment, bills to come in for telephone, travel and training. And in regards to building, repair and maintenance, building equipment and vehicles, I haven't had a chance to talk to Miles about those. I did send him an email about it to see where he's at with those, but I anticipate that there won't be too many expenses coming in from there. 2015 policing, we still have some bills to come in, so that we should be pretty close at $66,000 more dollars for 2020. On to page 9, Great West Life Public Works Department. That's the same thing. We're not close to the budget because we did receive some relief because of COVID. Page 10, I don't have any anything to say about those ones. 3019 on page 11. Oh, 30009, sorry. That's so high because we had to buy new tires for that specific vehicle this year. I don't have any comments to make on page 12 in regards to expenses. Actually, I don't have any for the next few pages. So I'm on page 18 of 26, water. So the water interdepartment, that's it'll be close to what we budgeted, 13,000. That comes from a year-end adjustment. We take 10% of the front line workers from the admin staff, and it gets put into there. The capital expenses, we have signed off on all of the capital projects, and Aqua just hasn't billed them. I know that there's been some that have been performed, and they usually send their final billing in December, and they all come in all at the same time. So that's not unusual that that's sitting at 0. On page 19, landfill. So the first 3, advertising, public relations, landfill monitoring, and garbage collection, we still have bills to come into there. And the transfer to reserve, that's from our 2020 budget. We established the landfill reserve, and that money has been put into reserve. On the same page, landfill contractor or compactor, sorry, there's still bills to come in regard to those expenses. So the next expense that I just wanted to highlight is on page 22. It's 7013 parks. So that's the $6,011.78 that we purchased the planters with from the Main Street revitalization. And we do have $6,733 to spend. So there's $721 available. However, the deadline for that is is done now. We had to spend that money before October 1st. So we will go through the budget and see if there's anything that we did spend that additional $700 that can be allocated to the Main Street project, so we don't have to give that money back. So 7019 on page 23, repair and maintenance building canteen. The amount there, it represents the money that we spent on fire suppression at the canteen, and we still have to buy the hood, and Jay is on that project to get that ordered before year end. The next page, page 24, fitness facility. All of those amounts highlighted fitness facility are directly related to COVID. We wouldn't have those expenses if it wasn't for COVID. So that on the flip side, on the revenue, that's the total amounts for the fitness facility. Library, 7010, same thing, emergency management. That's the direct expenses related to COVID, and the amount's been put in revenue to offset those amounts. And on the last page, page 26, all of the school boards, there was a deferral program put into place because of COVID, so we've only paid two bills up until this point, and we still have 2 bills to send out, one due December 15th and one due December 30th. So any questions in regards to actuals to date?
Yes, go ahead, Councillor Kistemaker Peter.
Just a question, Melissa. In the canteen, is that a different propane source than what is used inside the actual canteen itself?
Yeah.
Okay. I just seen canteen, I thought it was already paid for. Okay, makes sense. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Peter. Any other questions for Melissa on year to date? Okay, I don't see any, Melissa.
Okay, so I'll just now go through the changes in the budget that they are all pretty much just housekeeping. There's been no changes in the bottom dollar. They've just been skewed in between accounts. So I'll go through those.
Okay, which page do you want us on? Are we back to page 1 of 26?
Page 2.
Page 2.
So the public works 3,000. There was 78,000 budgeted in there, and that's due to ash that we weren't able to fulfill up until this point. And you'll see on the next line, the very last line, I have 78,000 in there for 2021. However, I don't believe that that amount's going to be coming in unless there is an agreement signed. I'm not really sure of the schematics of that. So we're going to have to look at that amount a little bit closer going forward. The next page, on page 3, I just highlighted that. I guess I highlighted them on both sides because I wanted to show that that transfer from reserve was made. So that's all for revenue. On the expense side, on page 6, I didn't actually highlight benefits WSIB general, but that did come down a little bit because we needed to send some money over to the library department, so that was decreased on the admin side. Sorry, just 1 second here.
Oh, it's all good, Melissa.
Okay, the 11,900, that was reduced $1,000 and put into the materials and supplies. So then the bottom one was increased to $1,000 it was taken from the materials and supplies and put into memberships. And then 30,500, I added in $3,500 from repair and maintenance. Subscriptions, $1,100 was added in there from admin, materials and supplies. And then repair and maintenance building, it was decreased 3,500 and then 6,500 to be reallocated to other places. And one of them is the 16,500, which was added $6,500 from repair and maintenance. So on page 8 of 26, excuse me, emergency management furniture and equipment, we originally had $20,000 budgeted in there, and that was removed and added to the loader budget to pay for the bucket. Policing, that was just an internal error. It was put in there by accident, so it was removed and put into a different spot. There was $300 in there, so that was taken out completely. On page 9, Public Works Department, all of the wages, CPP, EI, employee health tax. Sorry about that, one sec. Sorry about that. So the wages, CPP, EI, employee health tax, WSIB, and OMERS, they were all redistributed throughout all of the public works departments. So they've all been reduced, and then I'll tell you where they are when we get there. Furniture and equipment, there's $1,700 taken out of there and put into streetlights. The $2,400 or $24,000, there was $1,000 taken out of there and put into materials and supplies for the new GMC. The traveling, training, professional development, there was $650 that was taken out of there and put into the traveling training for the airport. And the long-term debt, that was just reallocated to a different long-term debt account. So on the next page, page 10, Public Works Department, 3001. You'll see there $1,000 that was taken from Public Works materials and supplies. In Sander, there was 4,000 used to be 7,000. It was reduced to 4,000. 3,000 was put into repair and maintenance, and then repair and maintenance was increased to 3,000. The steamer, there was $350 that was added into there from Public Works propane. From steamer propane, and then the propane was reduced $350. So on page 11, Public Works Department, 3006. There was $300 taken out from materials and supplies and put into repair and maintenance. Public Works Recreation Interdepartment, 3009. There was $500 in the materials and supplies, and it was put into repair and maintenance vehicle to cover the cost of the new wheels, or tires, sorry. And on the next page, 3016, page 12, 3016. Repair and maintenance street liner, there was $5,700 that was taken out of there and was put into the loader. Public Works loader. There in the materials and supplies, there was 3,000 or 4,000 in there that was removed and it was added into the material, repair and maintenance equipment. And then the repair and maintenance equipment, there was 4,000 from above materials and supplies, and then there was 5,700 from the freight liner. On the next page, 3030, page 13, capital expenses, bridges and culverts, there's $20,000 in there. We will be spending that. The culverts have been ordered. On 3030, flood control on the same page, there's $3,000 left in there. 1,000 was taken out and put into loose top. 3034, $8,000 was taken out of hard top, materials and supplies and put into loose top. Dust control, materials and supplies, $2,500 was taken out of there and put into salt and sand. Oh, sorry, I skipped loose top. So $80,000 or $8,000 from hard top and $1,000 from flood control was put into materials and supplies. So on to the next page, sand and salt. Page 15, sorry, sand and salt, 4041. $2,500 was added into there from dust control. Page 16, street lights. $1,700 was added into there from furniture and equipment from the Public Works Department. On page 17, airport. $1,000 was added into the insurance from materials and supplies. And then materials was reduced $1,000. Travel and training, I mentioned that already, $650 of that was moved to the Public Works Department travel from the Public Works Department. On page 18, water. So when I was doing all of the shifting around between departments, I didn't take any of the funds and shift it into the water or wastewater because we have a separate budget for water and wastewater. So I just highlighted these ones in water because we're going to have to budget some funds into those for this year. So so we're going to need money. And aside from the 3,000, there was I put $1,000 into from the water to the wastewater for telephone. So I just put those in between those two departments. So on 4,000, or next page, page 19, 4,005 wastewater.
Sorry, Melissa, before you continue on, could you just repeat that last bit? It was mumbled for me.
So I didn't want to take, I've been shifting them in between township departments, but I didn't want to shift any from the township departments into water and wastewater because we have a separate budget for water and wastewater. So I highlighted materials and supplies and memberships for water to remind myself and council that we need to put a budget in there. But for the telephone, I took $1,000 out of the wastewater and put it into water between those
Okay.
two departments.
Okay. Thank you for that.
And then on the wastewater side, it's the same thing, materials and supplies and repair and maintenance building. We might need some money in there, but the materials and supplies, or the repair and maintenance was for a new water heater this year. So maybe that's a one-time thing and maybe we don't need any money for that. And then you'll see the $1,000 is highlighted because I moved $1,000 to water. And the long-term debt, the 60,343, that was reallocated from the public works. I guess when I was putting it into the system, I didn't realize long-term debt had its own classification, so it was originally in public works. So I just housekeeping and moved it to there. So garbage, landfill, furniture and equipment. I added $3,000 in there from capital, and I added $600 from advertising and public relations. The $2,000 that I just highlighted that because we did have some added expenses this year because there was the fence was damaged. We did receive payment for the damaged fence, but on the expense side, that's where those expenses are. The advertising and public relations, there was $600 that was removed from there and put into furniture and equipment. And the capital expense of $3,000 was removed. And then the transfer to reserve, I already mentioned that in the actuals. So on page 20, health and safety. We were doing quite a bit of health and safety training this year. So 5100 didn't exist prior to 2020. So I added in that subcategory this year. So I thought it would be safe to take those from the town center. So the 550 comes from materials and supplies for town center. The 5,500 comes from the town center, and the 1,000 we had $300 in there already, and then but 700 came from the town center. The cemetery, there's $6,000 that was added in there, and I just wanted to pose the question to council that perhaps that could be added into the cemetery reserve since it wasn't spent this year, and we don't anticipate spending that amount this year. On the next page, page 21, Recreation Committee. So these expenses just came down from doing the bank reconciliations. There wasn't actually any added expenses. We did get the bank statements for all of 2019 and half of 2020, so they had to be put into the system. There was one check that was for $312 that was from January 2019, and the $76 for the interest and service charges is all bank fees. So we'll have to put something into there this year for bank fees because I believe it's $7.50 or seven. I'm not exactly sure, but there is a monthly bank fee coming from that account. So maybe instead of keeping that account open, maybe it's a possibility that we amalgamate that account into our account to avoid paying those additional fees. So on to recreation administration. Materials and supplies, 800. There was $250 that was taken out to go into training, and $350 and $100 were taken out of that materials and supplies and added into the recreation committee. And travel and training, $250 was put into there from the materials and supplies. The parks, oh, sorry, I guess the town center. Oh, so those are the, I had mentioned earlier, they are the materials and supplies and some of the electricity was put into Health and Safety Department, 5,100. So on to the next page, page 22, parks. The 2,100, there was $1,100 that was added from advertising public relations in the Parks Department, and also the materials and supplies. There was $1,000 that was added from advertising and public relations, and the advertising and public relations was less, 1,100 and 1,000. And just a note on that, we do have the discs ordered to be placed up at Cedar Point, and the furniture and equipment, there was a brush cutter and a mower and a pruner that were ordered for those departments this year. And down to arena materials and supplies. There was $400 that was added into there from the arena Zamboni account. The Zamboni account, I took all of the money out of there. We don't really use that account. It always just gets distributed throughout arena. So I took the money out of there and put it into other places where we required it. On the next page, page 23, there was $1,400 added to repair and maintenance building from the Zamboni account, $1,100 that was added to repair and maintenance equipment from the Zamboni account, and the propane was budgeted at $20,000, and I took out $5,000 and added that to the canteen because we didn't have a canteen propane budget. It was always just coded to arena, but now we're able to differentiate the canteen from the arena. The curling club materials and supplies, there was $200 that was added from the canteen advertising and public relations, and then the $200 taking that out from advertising public relations made that zero. Canteen, as I just said, there was $5,000 put into the canteen budget from the arena. On to page 24, fitness. I flagged that $20,000 that we budgeted that this year so we could purchase and refurbish some of the equipment, and that wasn't done this year, so I would like council to consider putting that amount into reserve. WSIB library, 7,100, that's an increase of 1,500 that was taken from WSIB administration. On the next page, page 25, economic development. So the 167, there's 55,000 that will be deferred from those expenses to the MSC. Materials and supplies, I flagged that one by accident. There's nothing to say about that one. Telephone fax, I added $600 from advertising and public relations. The travel, training, and professional development, 30,000. There's going to be 10,700 that's going to be deferred from there to the MSC. Postage, there was $300 that was added from office rental. We originally budgeted $18,000 for office rental. However, our January bill wasn't $1,500; it was $1,200, so we had an additional $300 in there. So office rentals less $300 for postage. Professional services, economic development, for $44,300 will be deferred from those expenses to the MSC. And subscriptions, $1,500 was added into there from materials and supplies. So that's all that I have in regards to the changes to the 2020 budget. Cheryl, you're on mute.
Thank you. I would have just kept talking. Council, do we have any questions on the 2020 changes to the 2020 budget? I do have a couple of questions. Okay, go ahead first, Gail.
Melissa, you mentioned about putting that $6,000 into cemetery reserve, and we're gonna have to look at probably in the next couple of years buying another columbarium. And right now, unless they change the Cemetery Act, it's not called the Cemetery Act anymore, but unless they change that act, we can't use the reserve money to purchase something like that. And I believe it's probably a $50,000 approximate expenditure. So I don't know what else we could do to start putting funds away for that would be accessible to us.
So we can.
I know that's on the table to get changed, but I don't know if they will allow it.
So we're allowed to spend the reserve, our own reserve. We're not allowed to spend the cemetery trust fund. So that's two different.
So that's the care and maintenance.
Yeah.
The care. Okay, thanks for the clarification.
Okay, good. Okay, any other questions from council on changes to the 2020? Okay, I just want to get clarification on when we set the budget, what is allowable to be changed within the budget? And then some things I know that come to council and then we've okayed it.
So we're allowed to change stuff within a budget, but we're not allowed to change the bottom dollar. We're not allowed to increase the municipal levy without bringing that to council.
Okay, so you can switch them around inside the budget amount, that total budget amount.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then if there's like, I know that I'm not sure of the exact amount. I think it's $50,000. So Gail's allowed to, well, you guys approved Gail to allow to authorize $50,000 up to $50,000. However, it has to be budgeted for, or there has to be an offset revenue coming in. So the bottom line doesn't change.
Right, okay. Okay, any other questions from council? I don't have any other further questions, no? Go ahead, Councillor Stefanik.
Yeah, through Mayor, just a comment through you to Melissa. Solid job, Melissa. Solid job, and great job explaining the entire massive budget. You did a fantastic job, in my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Stefanik. Okay, if there's no further questions, we'll move on then.
Okay, so 2021 budget, we're not even close to getting there. What is on the table tonight is looks like a balanced budget, but at this point there's still a lot of unknowns that have to be filled before we can proceed with setting the budget. So the first ones that I have highlighted in purple, those are amounts that come from the taxation levy, and the amounts that I have in there are based on last year's amounts, but we know that at this point that the assessment isn't changing from 20 to 21, but we have had a lot of write-offs that came in throughout the year. So when the assessment roll does come in at the beginning of December, those amounts are going to come down. We do have a couple of supplements that have come in, but not enough to offset the amount of write-offs that come off. So anything that I've put in purple, those are unknowns. Anything that I've highlighted in blue, those are concrete and probably not going to change. The ones that I've highlighted in yellow, they're already in the budget based on 2020 budget, and I've had a discussion about them with various staff members. And then the amounts that I've highlighted in green, they're the amounts that are in the budget but not in that specific account. So the railroad right-of-way and payment in lieu of hospital, we know that those are the amounts that are going to come in, so they're in there at that. The OMPF, we've been notified that we are going to receive $589,500, so that amount is in there as a solid. On page 2, the fire department, I didn't highlight it, but I have it highlighted on my end that the miscellaneous rents and revenue at $24,480. That is a given since we signed a new agreement for the fire protection out at the mill and the PW or the
Corn Payne Power. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, my computer's about to die. I just have to plug it in.
Oh.
Okay, and then public works general, that's what I talked about, the miscellaneous rents and revenue, or yeah, miscellaneous rents and revenue. So that's in regards to the ash. So there has to be more talks in regard to that amount. So on the next page, water and sewer billings, we don't know what that amount's going to look like at this time. I have reached out to Aqua. They've provided us with the amounts for the capital expenditures, but we don't have any amounts at this time for the operation and maintenance side of it. So before we can figure out what the revenue is going to be, we have to know what the expenses are. So we don't know that at this stage. On the same page, town center revenue, we know that there's no revenue going to be coming in from that, as we previously had rent coming in from there. On page 4, the curling club, we know that there's no revenue coming in. They've notified us that they aren't opening this season. The canteen, the 12,200, that's based on the new agreement that was signed, and then there's money in there for $5,000 for propane recoverable. Economic development on page 5. So there's, as I mentioned previously, there's $100,000 of deferred revenue from NWMO. So that'll be over a 12-month period for the project manager, and $66,666 of that will be coming in for 2021. 31,500 is the grant from NOHFC, and 100,000 is from the grant for FedNor. So we know those are coming. The next line, NWMO, we know we're not getting those anymore. And education, those for educations are unknown at this point. Well, actually, all of them are unknown at this point because we need the assessment book to know what those revenues are. So then on page 6, I've calculated already all of the salary and benefits for all of the departments. So the blue ones have been calculated for admin. Furniture and equipment. I know I haven't even had a chance to talk to Gil about this, but we normally put $5,000 in there, and I added 2725. We talked about not at our level, at the admin level, that it would be beneficial for us to buy a colored photocopier. Now that we're doing everything virtual, we're printing a lot more, and we only have 2 photo printers in our office that can print color. So we think that it might be beneficial for us and cost savings to us to buy a colored photocopier, pending we can put that little fax machine on the new fax machine that we just purchased on the new machine. But that's not written in stone. That's just something that we were considering. So subscriptions, and actually, before I go any further, I just want to say that the amounts that are put into 2020 I just flipped them all from the 2020 budget prior to making the adjustments to the 2020. So these amounts that are highlighted have been changed from the original 2020 budget and either increased or decreased. So repair and maintenance, subscriptions, that was increased to 15,000. We didn't have a budget in there at all for subscriptions.
You mean 1,500, correct?
1,500, yeah, sorry.
I'm like, what are you subscribing to?
Actually, that's all of our subscriptions for Norton's and Adobe and stuff like that. We always just coded it to materials and supplies, but we've kind of taken it out to its own category.
Okay,
Repair and maintenance building. I flagged that because there's no change to it, but that needs some further discussion. Repair and maintenance upgrades, that was increased to 16,500. On the next page, page 7, under council, we had a good turnout this year for senior snowplow rebates, and we only budgeted $1,500 and we paid out $2,600. So I increased that to 3,000, and that we'll have to take a better look at that because that might need to even come a little bit higher. I know I've already gotten quite a few phone calls about this season. People are planning on putting in their rebates. And then the vehicle allowance for all of council, we know that that's going to be a steady. Don't know really about travel and training this year. From what I see coming down the line, most of the stuff is still going to be virtual for 2021. So that might be a sufficient amount of money for the budget. So the fire department salary and wages, that's been calculated already for 2021. I'm on page 8, sorry. All the rest of these amounts are still the same from last year. We haven't had any talks in regards to those amounts. And actually the police expense, that amount in there, I didn't highlight that on 2015. That police amount is still the same from last year. We don't have any information on that at this point yet.
Just a note on that, back onto that page, Melissa, on page 8, that $300 911 service dispatch, was that the mistake? Is it going to be out of there too? Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not actually there. Okay.
No, so that'll just get moved to a different department.
Okay.
Actually, on the same page, if you look up in the fire department, there's a $500 budget. No, is it 500? Oh, $2,300 in there for 911 dispatch. And there's another place in the budget where there's 911 dispatch. So I think it's just a matter of getting rid of some of accounts and putting all of the 911 dispatch all into one single account.
Okay.
So Public Works Department on page 9, I calculated all of the salary and benefits for everyone. And then you'll see on the next page is all throughout the Public Works. The green ones are actually in these blue amounts here. So Dwayne and I did have a brief conversation. Well, we had a conversation in regards to actual budget and 2021 budget, and we did. There wasn't any concrete things put in there. We just had a thought that these might be the amounts to go to. So we figured for telephone, it needed to be reduced to 4,000. There was 5,000 in there last year. We're not coming into that. Repair and maintenance building, that's a gate needs to be put in at the Public Works Department. So we thought 15,000 was appropriate amount for that, and the rest of the repair and maintenance buildings that have to be done. On the next page, page 10, gas for the Public Works Department, that's only for the pickups. All the rest of the materials and supplies are either in the diesel department or in the individual equipment. So the $12,000 would just be gas and diesel, or gas and grease and oil for the 3 pickups. Diesel fuel was reduced to $10,000. We think that's $38,000. We think $38,000 would be good for that department. So the next one, 3001 GMC. So that's a new purchase. So we needed to put a budget in there for $1,000 for repair and maintenance, for oil changes and stuff like that. 3002 sander. We reduced the repair and maintenance to 4,000, and we left 13,000 the same for our materials, 4,000, and then repair and maintenance reduced the same as last year. The steamer, we increased the materials and supplies to 500, and then the rest are the same from this year. So on to page 11, repair and maintenance interdepartment. So that's the recreation facility that our lead hand drives. So even though that it was $2,800 this year, we figure that $2,000 next year would be still an appropriate amount, and no increase would be needed. On page 12, 3018, we reduced materials and supplies to 2,000, and then we increased the repair and maintenance from 15,000 to 20,000. And Dwayne has indicated that he feels we're going to need a new loader very soon, and that's going to need some work this year. On page 13, bridges and culverts, those 2 amounts were left the same. We figure that's going to be suffice for next year. On page 14, hardtop, so 17,000 was budgeted into there last year. I know it's been reduced to 9,000 as we skewed it into loose top from there, but 17,000 might still be required next year. So we left that the same. Loose top, there's $48,000 that was left from this year, the actual amount without the increases. Dust control, I know I didn't highlight it, but there was an email that came in following making these documents, and we are going to need to probably increase that to 20,000. Dwayne got a quote for putting calcium chloride on Government Lake. We're going to need 2 trucks of it for 1 truck's 13 kilometers, and we need 1.5 trucks. So Dwayne's going to see if we can do some cost sharing with somebody else, and it's $9,500 per truck. So on page 15, sand and salt, materials and supplies. We increased that a couple $1,000 to 2,300, just to in line with this year's actuals.
23,000.
Did I say 2,300?
Yeah.
23,000. Yep.
Nope, we're good.
So on page 16, streetlights. That amount was increased to 6,000, and the expenses that go into there are actually the pole. I don't know, maybe Gail could shine some insight into it, but it's has something to do with the hydro poles, and our lights are on their poles. So that's
You
where
want to
those.
shine some light on that, Gail? No pun intended.
So previously it was being coded to electricity, but it's not electricity. So I made it, put it into materials and supplies so it doesn't get mixed up with those expenses.
That's the, oh, I forget the terminology, the pole share thing that you're talking about, the $43 a pole.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember what it's called now, but that's what it's for. It's because it's a pole share and we're charged for about $43 per pole.
Of where each street light is?
Yeah.
Of those poles, okay. Thank you.
So on page 17, airport. We increased the insurance. I guess it was not enough for last year, so we increased that. However, we don't have our quotes for insurance yet. So in the admin and the airport, we will know more from that. The proposals have been, or the applications have been put into the insurance company. We just haven't received a quote yet. The materials and supplies were decreased to $1,000 in airport. And with the repairs or the airport project that's coming up in the next couple of years, I'm not sure we need all of these amounts budgeted into repair and maintenance building, repair and maintenance equipment, repair and maintenance runway. So we'll have to look at what those expenses are and the schedule for the rear of the airport runway. So those expenses might even be able to be reduced or eliminated. 3036. That amount was increased to $3,000 for the airport loader. The clutch is stuck and Dwayne's anticipating to require to rebuild that. So on page 18, water. As I mentioned, for the 2020 budget, that amount's been calculated, so it's the 10% of the frontline workers. We've received the capital expenses from Aqua, so they're actually the capital is 135,000 for the year, but 10,000 of it is in the wastewater on the following page. So 125 for water and 10,000 for wastewater. And then we normally budget $100,000 for unscheduled capital for water breaks. Aqua water requisition, we haven't received that information from Aqua yet for 2021. On the next page, page 19, like I said, the capital expense, $10,000 is in there. The Aqua sewer requisition, we don't have information yet on that.
Just a comment on that though, Melissa, it can't be raised that much because we signed that long-term agreement, right? Like there's only a little bit that they can move it, right?
Yeah, we know that the management fee is going to go up 1.55%. The rest of it is just their operation, so their chemicals, their wages and stuff like that. So when we get their final numbers, it won't be very much. The management fee is actually 1.55 this year, so it'll be the same based on their operations.
Okay, good.
So the salary and wages in garbage, that's right now in Public Works and will be redistributed as it needs to be. The furniture and equipment, furniture and equipment landfill. I don't have any notes on that, why we left that in at 3,200. So I'll have to circle back to Dwayne and see what that was about. The materials and supplies, $2,000. Oh, I know why we left it in that. It's because we purchased the porta potty and the share shack this year, so we reduced it to 3,200. Materials and supplies stayed the same. Advertising and public relations, we increased that a little bit, and that's assuming that we're going to be doing the hazardous waste day going forward. The landfill monitoring contract, I highlighted that because we're going to have to look to see what those expenses are based on our contract, as it doesn't look like we paid as much this year as we were anticipated. So I just highlighted that for myself to check it out, and that could be reduced. The garbage collection contract, so we won't know what that is. It possibly, more than likely, will be an increase. So we'll have to wait to see what comes out of that process. The salary and wages for landfill contractor, that's currently in the Public Works Department. So on page 20, same thing. Actually, the landfill Mack truck, we can take all of those right out because we don't have that vehicle anymore. We don't use it. The Porcupine Health Unit, I've highlighted that as purple, so we haven't received any information about that. So health and safety, this is where I've put the 911 dispatch in there. Maybe that's not the right spot, so we'll have to see where that goes. Cemetery, the salary and wages are in Public Works Department. The capital expense of $3,000 is to, $2,000 is to purchase a head trimmer and fence. On page 21, the town center, I've removed all of those expenses. However, we're gonna have insurance, and we may have some marketing pending on what happens with our advertisement that's out there right now. Outdoor facilities, the insurance is, sorry, I probably missed it going through it all, but all of the insurance right now is budgeted in admin, so they'll be redistributed as well throughout all of the departments. So that's the same thing for outdoor facility. On page 22, the parks. I have the parks. I can't think off the top of my head what those parks wages are.
Do you think it's from maintenance from the students that?
That's what I was going to say. Students.
I'll have to look back at that. I don't know what parks could possibly be. So I'll figure that out and let council know. Furniture and equipment, we reduced it to $10,000 or $1,000. So arena, those wages have been calculated, and they include 1 full-time, one part-time, and 4 summer students for 24 hours a week for 24 weeks. So the arena is normally open 20 weeks, so it's 2 weeks before and 2 weeks after to help set up and help tear down. We didn't want to touch $40,000 for electricity, even though we don't have quite that high yet. We've seen quite an increase in the hydro bills that came in today. Some of them were quadrupled. Not specifically the arena, but some of them are quite high, so we didn't want to touch that. And we still have 3 more months to pay of bills in there, so we'll have to reevaluate that at the end of the year.
Okay.
We decided to keep the $5,000 right now for travel and training, and we removed, as I mentioned before, $33,000 out of the Zamboni.
Okay, just a question, that current funding that we just put in for at our last meeting, that possibly would go into parks, would that fall into the 2021 budget, or would that increase the 2020 budget? The $100,000 for pavilion area revitalization.
The ISIP grant.
Okay, so is
Yeah,
that
no,
already?
That would be 2020.
That would have
That
been in 20. That'll be at the end of 2020.
No, I don't think so.
No, it'll be in 2021. Okay, okay. So there could possibly be bigger changes in the parks, like expenses.
Yeah, but
to
that would
offset that.
it would be capital.
Oh, capital. Okay, sorry.
So on the next page, page 23, there's $20,000 that were left in the repair and maintenance building. We added in there that, sorry, it was increased because the electrical panel in the Zamboni room is gonna have to be replaced. And the propane, as I mentioned before, that was decreased 5,000 and put into the canteen. The curling club, if there's any wages that'll be currently budgeted in arena. I removed the electricity bill right out of curling club. We've always had an issue distinguishing the curling club's electricity compared to the fitness facility. So I removed it right out of the curling club because there's not going to be anything going on in the curling club at all this year. They've told us they're not opening for January, and they normally don't open until January to begin with. So there's not going to be any at the end of 2021, like not December or November or December. So nothing for 2021. However, we did leave $500 or $5,000 in there for repair and maintenance in case there is a few things that can be done while the club is closed. Canteen, like I said, I put $5,000 in there to cover the propane. On to page 24. The salary and benefits for the fitness facility, that's for the students that have to work in there in regard to COVID. So it's 2 laborers at 24 hours a week for 52 weeks. $1,000 for materials and supplies is to purchase the key fobs. The $25,000 for electricity is the money that was taken from the curling club and put into the fitness facility. So we'll know what exactly the share is between fitness and curling club after 2021 is complete. And then the $2,000 for subscription is for the monthly subscription for the key fob program. The library salary and wages have been calculated, and no changes have been made to the library at all. I haven't had a talk to Darnell about the library budget. On to page 25, economic development. Those have all been calculated based on 2 employees who work in that department. And the office rental and professional services, we know that those amounts will be in 2021. Service Ontario, those amounts right now are budgeted in the admin department. The next page, page 26, we know that there's going to be no expenses for the NWMO administration resource program, and the education, we don't know that yet until we get the assessment rollback.
Okay, thank you for that, Melissa. Are there any questions from council on the current status of where we're at for building the 2021 budget?
No, fine,
Thank you, Drago. Councillor Kissmaker, Peter?
Yeah, just more of a comment there. I gotta apologize, Melissa. I had no idea up until I got involved. Much work went into this budget. It's absolutely amazing. Good job.
Thank you.
People just don't understand. I don't know how many hours you put into it, but
Thank you for those comments, Peter. I'm sure it's appreciated, Melissa. By Melissa, yes. John? Councillor
No, you did a
Kraft? No?
fantastic job with this. Is awesome. I have no other comments. I think it's something to work from, sure. I like it.
Okay. Oh, Councillor Stefanik, go ahead.
Yeah, through you, Madam Mayor, as I repeated what it says, wonderful job, Melissa, exemplary work. I just want to place this out there. I'm looking at the long-term capital reserves. I discussed this, I've mentioned it a few times over the last 3 years. We're going to be looking at a water delivery system, meaning the piping is going to be a disaster next 4 or 5, 6 years. Number two, the municipal building, our offices, basically we have to build a new facility 2025. I said that numerous times. And also the repair of the building of Public Works or building new facility. It's only 5 years away for most of the projects, in my opinion, maybe 7. Through you, Madam Mayor, to the treasurer and the administration team, do you think we should start reserves this year for 2021? We still got to start moving on because 2025 moved very quickly, in my humble opinion. So something to consider by administration team and council. Thank you.
Thank you, Drago. Gail, would you like to speak to that, or Melissa?
Well, my mic is open, which I didn't realize. I hope I wasn't shuffling papers in everybody's ears.
No.
I certainly think it's a great idea, Drago. I think if we're going to do that, we'll have to set aside a certain percentage of tax increase to start funding that, which is not really a likable thing to do, but there's not really any other way of doing it other than, trying to pare down and trim down that we've been working on for the last year since our service delivery review. We have talked with Aqua about doing an assessment on the water and sewer lines, and we're going to try and get something going in the capital budget for, I would like to do it over 3 years rather than 4 or 5 years. So we're going to be talking about that and at least get the study done so that hopefully we can work that right into our capital, the part that we, the 100,000 or so that we normally set aside for capital, include that in there for like within the budget. And then obviously the work itself would have to be paid for, but I'm hearing that there's still infrastructure monies coming out, in future years to cover such things. And we're still working on getting the governments to look at doing the 2-tiered funding so that they would cover the roads and the underground infrastructure. So that's something that could be coming. And then we still are hoping to convince somebody to give us some money for a multi-use facility, which would combine the public works, the fire department, the municipal office. Depending on whether we get the funding for the arena or not, it could also include library, fitness center. So we've got some preliminary plans for that. Stacy's done a great job in starting that project, and we are still waiting for a meeting with the Ministry of Infrastructure to discuss that project. So we're kind of hoping that, I don't know that there's not really a program out there right now, but I'm kind of hoping that they'll really consider it, our proposal closely when we get the meeting and look at what we've been doing in the community and how far we've come, and that we're trying to look for solutions. I think we've gotten the province's attention in several ministries, and they're happy with what we're doing here. So I think there's a little bit of hope there, and maybe we won't have to rely as much on the ratepayers as it might seem. So I guess that's time will tell, but I think there's a little bit of hope there for some funding at some point in time. But yes, reserves I think is a good idea for sure.
Thank you.
Yes, I agree. Thank you for the question, Drago. And also too, I think trying to leverage those, our planning and putting it into that holistic plan from partnering with Arden, because we're not the only community in this boat. And if we can show best practice and how to get it forward, we might be able to leverage further funds, or at least convince people to give us further funds. Okay. Any other further questions or comments on that part? Melissa, a question to you. What do you need from council when we move forward? Because there's, is there any questions or things that you want council to be thinking about so that when we look at it again?
I think just at this point is those two amounts that I suggested for reserve. So one from the cemetery and then one from the fitness facility. And the other page that I gave you guys, I'm not going to go through that. I just wanted to provide a snap in time picture of what the reserves look like at this point, and where the deferred revenue is and how the COVID funding has been allocated, and then the long-term payments that were made. So just one comment that I want to make in regards to the deferred revenue. So that's at the top of the page 2 of the first document that I gave you. So the deferred revenue from FedNor for the Economic Development Department. So there was $22,298 that was from 2020, or yeah, from 2019 put into the 2020 budget. However, right now there is none, but there will be an amount that will be put into that line at the end of this year that will have funding that will have to go into 2021. So I just wanted council to be aware of all of those amounts that we have available, and some of them that still need to be discussed at council level, in particular the community well-being funds.
Okay, so just a question on this sheet, just for clarification for me. So on page 2, where you were talking about the deferred revenue, are those deferred revenues, because I'm thinking the federal gas tax, we were thinking of putting that towards our airport project, right?
Yeah.
So are some of them already allocated into the budget you just took us through, or are they just still sitting there, but we have had some discussion on them?
The modernization funds, we still do have some expenses that will be coming in 2020.
Okay.
The OSIF formula component, we don't have anything allocated to that. The federal gas tax, like you said, that hopefully council would provide direction for the airport, and then Main Street revitalization, that'll be gone by 2021. I'll either allocate it to an expense or we'll have to pay it back.
Okay. Council, do you have any questions for Melissa on this one page, or this actually 2-page document back in front that she provided with us? I want to thank you for that, Melissa. It gives a really good snapshot of the different reserves and funds. And I'm not sure, Drago, if you were speaking. No? Okay. Okay, so Melissa, moving forward, what would we're going to have public consultation with the budget coming forward. So what are you looking at as the rollout of the plans for council so that they can prepare and know? Okay, first question is the cemetery. I just wrote those 2 reserves that you want us to think about. When do you want answers for that?
Well, it's they won't be able to be finalized until our financial statements are finalized. And I was talking to Nathan today, and they will be doing the field visit at the end of March. So like not even till February.
Okay.
I mean, okay. Yeah, February, March should be fine. So I think even when we have our next budget discussion and presentation, that it can probably be held off until then.
Okay, good. And then we're looking at February for our finalized budget of everything. We'll close up the year end, and there'll be will it be a similar presentation to this as this, Melissa? But with, I'm just wondering what's coming.
If it, this will be bare minimum, I will do this for sure. But if I can fit in a slideshow or a PowerPoint presentation, I'll do that. But don't hold me to it if it doesn't come to that.
Oh, I'm not. I'm thinking this is really thorough. Like, this is really thorough. So I'm not, no, don't take it that way at all. Okay, so any other further questions from council? Because this is a huge, I just want council to realize that we have made a huge shift in the operations of the yearly cycle of the township. And in the years to come, this is really going to give staff, empower staff to get the things done that need to be done, instead of having the budget going into half the year and not sure and what are we doing and that sort of thing. So I just want to congratulate staff on this, and especially in this year of COVID. It's I'm amazed of the amount of work and things that have progressed forward, and I do applaud you all working together. And I have to say, I do see huge differences in the senior management team working together, and I hope that you're all utilizing that to spread out the stress. I feel for you all, but thank you, Melissa, for all your hard work in this. And if there's any other, do you need anything else for us from this point in the preparation? So we'll think of those two reserves, and also what council would like to do with that 700,000. Well, it's 650,000 now from NWMO. And any final words there from yourself, Melissa? Okay. Any final discussion from council on that initial council deliberations? Okay, wow. Well, if there's being none, we're going to move on. I need a mover and a seconder for our confirmatory bylaw. Drago and John. Moved by Drago Stefanik, second by John Peroff. Be it resolved that bylaw number 1824, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at their special meeting of council held on Wednesday, November 25th, 2020, be hereby read a first and second time and be considered read a third time and finally passed. Those in favor? And that is carried. Okay, and I need a mover and a seconder to adjourn this special meeting of council. Peter. And one more, John. And that's moved by Peter Kistemaker, second by John Peroff. Be it resolved that we do adjourn this special meeting of council held on Wednesday, November 25th, 2020 at 9:08 p.m. Those in favor? And that is carried. Okay, council, it was good to see you all tonight. Thank you, staff. I hope everyone has a good week and a good weekend.
Thank you. Have a nice weekend. Great job, staff. Great job.
Everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.